Okay, so this week I'm going to talk about shelf life extension, and I'll focus on about three things: the methods that used to determine shelf life of the food products, and also discuss the factors affecting shelf life, as well as discuss how technology is used to extend shelf life. Right. If we look at shelf life, a lot of companies and organizations tend to worry about how their food and products will do after they've been manufactured, or if it is fresh produce after they've been picked, how they can hold on, still maintaining good quality and good safety. So the shelf life of a product is best determined as part of the product development cycle. We actually say, well, it has been picked raw. How long does it take to ripen and even reach a point where it's no longer fit for consumption? So you'd see that there are two definitions here that I'm going to discuss about. The Institute of Food Technology, which is a US-based organization, defines shelf life as the period between the manufacture and the retail purchase of a food product, during which time the product is in a state of satisfactory quality in terms of nutritional value, taste, texture, and appearance. So you see here, they have actually looked at satisfactory quality, but what determines that quality is nutritional value, taste, texture, and appearance. And the IFST in UK actually says shelf life is defined as the period of time during which the food product will remain safe to contain to certain to be certain to retain desired sensory, chemical, physical, microbial, and functional characteristics, and also comply with any label declarations of nutritional data when stored under the recommended conditions. So the IFST encompassed safety into the definition, and it has also looked at some of the things that can actually affect the shelf life, which is chemical, physical, and there's also microbial. And they also looked at which conditions are they stored, recommended conditions. So these recommendations that are made are usually written onto the packaging. Store at room temperature, store at 4 degrees, keep in a keep refrigerated, or keep frozen. So these are all recommended conditions that are times put on a packaging. And then on some of these packaging as well, they bring about expiry dates. And these dates tend to kind of like give the minimum durability, which is actually like the date until which the food retains its specific properties when properly stored. It also must be indicated that word before followed by the date is usually a way of referencing that this product is only best, or it has got its best quality before this date that has been indicated on the label. And depending on how long the food can keep, the date can be expressed by the date and month, and at times can be the month and year, or at times is only year. So you'd actually see that depending on how long this product can actually stay, the shorter the product, the lifespan is, they'll use day and month. And then the middle one is month and year. And then if it actually keeps for a long time, they tend to say that they tend to use the year as an indication of it. So what are the methods that are used to determine shelf life of foods? We tend to have what are called direct methods, right? These are real-time studies that consist of storing the product under conditions similar to those that it will actually face to monitor its evolution in regular intervals. And then the main advantage of this method is that it creates a very accurate estimation of the time it takes for a product to deteriorate. And also, these studies are usually take a long time and do not consider the fact that storage conditions of a product may vary from time to time. For example, in South Africa, the storage conditions could actually be assessed now. And it's almost kind of like summertime, but when the product is shipped to Europe, it's winter time. So you actually see that by just being moved from one region to another, the storage conditions are actually different. So at times, this direct method has got a disadvantage that as long as the product is moved from where it's supposed to be, these conditions that we're talking about might actually change drastically. And then we've got the other method, which is called the challenge tests. This method consists of experimentally introducing pathogens or microbes into the food during production process so that the product is exposed to real conditions it will suffer in real life. And then look at what the product would actually do, how would it progress with that. And then the main advantage of this type of test is that the effects caused by these studied parameters are the only things that are analyzed. It might even be other things that are outside these parameters which are actually affecting the quality of the product. So it tends to give limited results because you are looking at specific parameters but not looking at all the parameters. And at times these studies can actually be quite complex and very difficult to implement depending on where the tests are done. Then there is predictive microbiology. These methodology studies the different microbial responses of food to varying environmental conditions, and are based on mathematical and statistical models that has been done before, and they look at predicting the behavior of microbes in the product. If it is stored at room temperature, if it is stored at 4 degrees, it is stored frozen, what will this species of microbes actually do? So this method is widely used when developing new products and does consider the possible changing conditions of a product. The major limitation is that it only implies greater complexity for the manufacturer, and that the results correspond to a simulation rather than the real life scenario. And then you have got the accelerated shelf life test. This one here is conditions that are set up, temperature and all the stuff. Like for example, the fish tanks that we have in our own houses, we actually put the environment for all these fish to grow. So these products are put in an environment where the oxygen, the temperature, the moisture content, and also the environment that you would see the microbes growing would actually be regulated, and then they predict whether the product is going to be having a good quality after this, or the product is going to actually deteriorate. And after all these storage conditions, they can actually now say these conditions should not be used for this product, and these conditions can actually be used. And the studies are very versatile, very low cost for the manufacturer, and also allows for comparison for different scenarios. So you can actually do one study in UK, one study in South Africa, then actually change to say if this product has been shipped from one region to another, what will actually happen when it comes to its shelf life. And then there is survival tests that is actually done. This is a type of study that is based on the opinion of the consumer, because every product that we are saying, the food product that is in the market, it will only do well in the market as far as it can satisfy the consumer. So they can actually use the survival test as a way of actually finding out if there is any to find out the shelf life of the product. It consists of knowing the attitude of people towards the product. It also determines who actually will consume it or will not consume it. So the method seeks to establish a relationship between the shelf life and the perceived quality of the product. So hence, because it's using perception, it tends to actually be consumer focused. So let's look at the factors that affect shelf life, right? So you actually see that we have got two categories here of factors. We have got intrinsic factors, which we look at product characteristics, and we also have extrinsic factors where we look at the environment. So if you look at the intrinsic factors, we look at water activity, pH or total acidity, natural microflora that is around, survival microbial counts in the final product, availability of oxygen, reduction of potential, natural biochemistry and chemistry of products, added preservatives, could be spices, salts, antioxidants, and also the product formulation. All these are factors that affect the shelf life of a product. And then if you look at the extrinsic factors, we package our products, we move them from one area to another. And as they are moving from one area to another part, it might be within the factory or in the conveyor belt or within, but the temperatures can actually vary from room to room. And those variation in temperatures can actually bring about an impact on the shelf life. So you'd see that extrinsic factors such as temperature, exposure to light, gas exchange, relative humidity, and even damage to the packaging can actually affect the shelf life of a product. Okay, and then when you're looking at deterioration factors, chemical reactions that are actually happening, especially fresh produce, the chemical reaction is happening as long as the product is fresh. Those reactions keep on going. Like enzymatic reactions keep on going as far as there is substrate that is available, there is air that is available. The pH is still within the required pH for that chemical reactions to actually happen. Those chemical reactions keep on going, and those chemical reactions also is the same as microbial reactions. They also grow as much as if there's water, there is temperature, there's oxygen. These microbes will keep on growing. But as they keep on growing, what they're doing is the status of the produce is actually changing. Hence, the quality and shelf life of the product will actually be affected. So biochemical tests, enzymatic browning, lipolysis, proteolysis, all these chemical reactions can actually affect the shelf life of a product. So when we actually now dig into this one and find out with specific examples, if you look at non-enzymatic browning, chemical reaction, Maillard reaction, which can actually be caused usually by browning chemical reactions between amino acids, and you tend to see that they tend to affect color, taste, aroma, nutritive value, formation of toxicological compounds like acrylamide, and this one is usually very common in things like potatoes, which are heated at high temperature. That's during that heating of potatoes at a high temperature, that can actually form the acrylamide. So they tend to make sure that they are heating them below probably 110 degrees or something like that, so that that acrylamide does not form. But at the same time, the browning of the potatoes is actually seen as a way of showing that they're actually done in terms of cooking and all this stuff. So that balance between the browning and the formation of acrylamide needs to be actually be monitored quite well within the product. Then fatty acid oxidation. This example, loss of essential fatty acid, rancid flavor that can come, and also formation of toxicological suspects compounds. And then in some situations, if you look at biochemical reactions, this fat oxidation can actually bring about off flavors, which might be due to formation of aldehydes or ketones. And there's also hydrolysis, which brings about changes in flavor, vitamin content, and lipolysis, biochemical reaction in terms of lipase enzyme, and then formation of free fatty acids, peptides, and even beta tests. So you will see that then some of these ones here can actually be good chemical reactions, but at times they bring about deterioration within the product, which is a lot of times not good for the quality of the product at the end of the day. And then if you look at enzymatic browning, a lot of times it's caused by the polyphenols that are in the product, and that browning can actually cause this undesirable colors. Like for example, if you cut an apple open, it browns, and no one wants to eat the browned apple. Or if you peel the banana and you leave after some time, the banana browns. So all those browning part of it, it's nobody would want to look consume a product with that. And then we look at the packaging material for raw foods, which is fruits and vegetables. They have actually been an increase in demand for fruits and vegetables, which a lot of times are required as raw, right? So you tend to find that these raw and gets to the consumers still looking fresh and still tasting fresh. So the fresh produce is a living, breathing entity, which is actually like fostering some physiological consumption of oxygen and production of carbon dioxide and water vapor. So if they're put in enclosed containers and all this stuff, some of you have been posting pictures on the Aula page. I've actually seen them. Some of them have the condensation inside, which is actually caused by this respiration that is happening inside the packaging. So you tend to see that the packaging needs to make sure that it takes care of this gaseous exchange that is happening between the inside where the produce is and also the outside. And there's a balance in carbon dioxide oxygen ratio, because that balance will bring about the growth of microbes. So if you look at the packaging material for all the foods, the major problem is that produce may enter into respiration anaerobiosis, which is kind of like when oxygen concentration is reduced to near extinction. We do not want them to reach that point of respiration anaerobiosis, because this pathway produces undesirable flavors inside the packaging. So they need to be that balance of the amount of oxygen that is inside the packaging. We also want to minimize the production of these desirable, the undesirable flavors, and packaging as well as the systems, as well as also temperature control tends to kind of like being used as a way of reducing these undesirable flavors. These involve mechanisms to permit air into the packaging to compensate for the oxygen consumption by the respiring produce. There's also need for high gas permeability plastic films into the macro perforated plastic films. And then these plastic films are disrupted with mineral film or films and then fabricated from temperature sensitive polymers, which were all used commercially as a way of. And then there's a lot more combination of other technologies that can be used for these fruits and vegetables because of the fact that they are fresh. So you see that the fresh cut vegetables, especially lettuce, cabbage, carrots, have been a major product in both the retail, which is the hotel and restaurant, and even institutional market, because there are things that are consumed fresh, right? If anyone gets lettuce, they want to put it in their fresh salads. So the lettuce needs to actually keep on being kept fresh, even 3-4 days or even 5 days after being picked. And then they tend to do the cleaning, the trimming, and the size reduction to lead to greater surface volume for the produce and to also express the expression of fluid from the interior to increase respiration, and microbial growth. So you actually see that all these things tend to kind of like affect the quality of the fruits and vegetables. So they need to be done in a way um, that is monitored, and also to reduce the amount of damage that is done to the produce. And then commercially, fresh cutting operations generally are for superior to mainstream fresh produce handling, and then cleanliness and speed through the operations. We tend to see that if you look at some of the produce that you're actually seeing on the market, some of them they can take on average of 24 hours from being picked in the farm to be in the consumer's a plate. So you'd see that fast logistical system has to actually meet the needs of some of these products, especially the lettuce and the carrots, and because of how they can easily be degraded, or they can easily deteriorate if they are kept too long without being um, kept well. So temperature reduction is one of the things that they actually do, and also application of what are called the microbicides, which will kill the bacteria, such as just washing them or cleaning them in chlorine. So uncut produce packaging is really a multitude of materials, structures, and forms that range from old and traditional wood crates to even inexpensive, such as injection of molds, polypropylene baskets, or polyethylene liners within wax corrugated fiberboard cases. So these are all things that you see that these, like for example, cauliflower, broccoli, and all the stuff are actually being picked and put in those crates, but they are already lined with these chemicals that can actually like reduce the growth of microbes and reduce the growth of the contamination that can be done, cross contamination between the crates and the produce itself. And then much of the packaging is designed to help retard moisture loss, and also to resist the moisture evaporating or dripping from the product itself. And some packaging recognizes the issue of anaerobic respiration and incorporates deliberate openings to ensure that there's passage of air between the inside of the packaging and the outside. So you'd actually see that some of these packaging material that is also done for raw produce is just freezing the vegetables, cleaned, trimmed, cut, blanched, and then frozen. And then once they are in that stage, they've actually retarded the way at which they can actually deteriorate. So the produce might even be individually quick frozen, or they can be frozen as combined, or they can be frozen individually and then be mixed during the packaging stage. Then the frozen food packages are generally relatively simple, monolayer polyethylene pouches or polyethylene coated paperboard to retard moisture loss. So fresh cut vegetables coupled with breadsticks and deep constituent can reasonably be flavorful and also mouthful and nutritional snacks for adults and even younger person. So you might actually see that some of these ones here, they are packaged so that they can actually be eaten as snacks, especially like here in UK, they run the campaign of encouraging people to eat fruits and vegetables 5 a day. So I'm going to look at this case study, which the company called Keep It Fresh is actually been incorporated into packaging and into extending shelf life. And this company has actually worked in different areas, which is UK, South Africa, Asian countries, and even in America. So it's kind of like a global example of where they've actually come up with technologies to improve the quality of the produce. So Keep It Fresh products are designed for shelf life extension of fresh fruits, vegetables, and flowers. So it's mainly fresh fruits, vegetables, and flowers that they look at. And then the range of products utilize different technologies, such as ethylene adsorption, modified atmosphere packaging, antimicrobial packaging, sulfur dioxide gas release, and also oxygen adsorption. So all these technologies that they'll be using, they'll be harnessing one of these ones to make sure that the shelf life of a product is extended. So they have got partners in partner plants in India, USA, South Africa, China, and Italy. And the technology that they're using, antimicrobials, ethylene adsorbers, moisture adsorbers, oxygen absorbers, modified atmospheric packaging, sulfur dioxide release packaging, as well as filtration. So we'll look at some of these ones here in the case study. But their main problem is what they look at is ethylene is the main problem, right? Ethylene in some vegetables is produced as part of the chemistry and the biochemical reactions that happens within a plant. In some plants, they actually do not produce much ethylene, but they absorb ethylene from the air because in the air, there's a certain amount of ethylene that is actually there. That's why some of the fruits, if you leave them just outside, after some time, those fruits have actually ripened because they've absorbed ethylene from the outside. And some of them, if you take an unripe fruit, you take banana, you put it in there. Banana is a very high producer of ethylene, and that's why they have got a very short shelf life. So you can actually see that whatever the technology that they're trying to do here, they're trying to look at how best can they reduce the amount of ethylene within the environment of the product, because they look at and say ethylene increases ripening exponentially. Ethylene absorbers reduce ripening rates and also absorbing the ethylene molecules that are around, which is from the atmosphere. And ethylene molecules form a bond with which keeps with the keep it fresh at the additives, and they are also like trapped so that they are not the ethylene is not given out. So within fruits and vegetables, you see that there are some which ethylene producers, and there are some which are ethylene sensitive, which means they just are not supposed to be in contact with ethylene. So at times it might be just to be making those barriers for some of those fruits without making much difference to how they are stored. Mm-hmm. So this main problem ranges. If you look at how the fruits produce ethylene, the lowest range is pineapple, artichoke, cauliflower, broccoli, dates, orange, spinach, beetroot, green, asparagus, and then celery and lemon. They are all on the low range of ethylene production. The moderate one, banana, mango, plum, and tomato. And then the high one is apricot, nectarine, pear, and peach. And then very high one is the apple and avocado, which tends to. So at times, the problem that is actually there is this ethylene is produced within the fruit itself. By the time it actually comes out, the damage has already been done. So we tend to say that you cannot eliminate this ethylene problem 100%. You can only monitor, you can only moderate, but you cannot eliminate it, right? So you would see that all the technologies that they're doing to try and deal with the ethylene problem is to reduce it. If at any point, right, let's think about it this way. At any point, they say, we are tired of this ethylene, let's just eliminate it completely. We go into the genes of the plants, we go and take out that gene that codes for ethylene production. What will happen is the plant will not produce any ethylene, the plant will not probably be sensitive to ethylene, but what we have, a mango which doesn't ripen. And who wants to eat a mango that doesn't ripen? Nobody. All right. So all that will actually go into the bin again. So as much as we are actually saying there is ethylene problem, but it's a problem which is good and which also has got some bad issues, right? So what we are doing now is managing those bad behaviors that we do not want about ethylene. But what I'm trying to say is it is a problem that we are defining as a problem, but it's also something that is good. Otherwise, if I buy my avocados and they do not ripen, and I'm like, well, you know what, how long are they going to take to soften? How long are they going to take to soften? You know, I know I bought them being written as ready to eat, but they're still hard. Again, the consumers do not want that. You know, they want, you know, the ethylene to be produced, the avocado to ripen, and then being able to sit down and enjoy their product. So as much as we are talking about ethylene being a bad thing, it's also required by the consumers to make sure that some of these fruits and vegetables are actually edible, right? Some of the antimicrobials that are actually used is packaged silver ions that kills the bacteria, and these silver ions tend to kind of like affect the cell walls of the bacteria, and then they can actually kind of like sterilize the packaging. So you tend to see the silver ions are put on the plastic film, and then the plastic film lines the inside of the packaging, and then that is where each time it gets in touch with the microbes are actually killed, which means the microbes can have no chance of multiplying for them to end up spoiling the food. So it's one of the technologies that they use. And they attack the cell membrane of the bacteria, which affects the respiration of the bacteria, and then the food nutrition intake is impeded by these silver ions, and then cell division is also inhibited. So if it is inhibited, which means these microbes can't grow, and if nutrition cannot be reached, and which includes moisture and all the stuff, this microbe will just reach a point where everything is depleted and then it just dies off. Then if you look at other product range that this Keep It Fresh produces, the paper strips, the caskets that at times they can put in certain boxes, curtains at times, just for those ones which are ethylene sensitive, and sachets, linings in the boxes, and also plastic bags. So they're all types of different technologies that they have to improve the freshness of products. And then if you look at the Keep It Fresh bags made from food grade polyethylene resins, they leave no harmful residues at all. So they are human safe, preserve the freshness of perishables at room temperature as well as in the refrigerator. And then they are also certified to be food conduct for food conduct application. And this was done by the US FDA through the SDS labs. And then this is an example of the bags used for the green peas and also for the green peppers. And this one here being used in a bigger bag. We went to the export and import and export department at Heathrow at one point to look at how foods are imported and how foods are exported. You see that a lot of these food products, when they're coming in bulky, they're actually kept like this in these plastic bags so that they're actually kept fresh. And then if you look at them after you open, you see that the chilies are really looking very fresh from the bag. And then they also looked at, the company looked at different food products and looked at what they were doing, the temperature in a bag, and then looked at the temperature without the storage without a bag. And they actually realized that there was actually an extension of shelf life. So if you look at the normal bag, the percentage of weight loss, if the fruits and vegetables were kept in a normal environment, like for example here, the spinach 30% weight loss. The coriander leaves, 40% weight loss. The curry leaves, they also lost about 40%. And then the pomegranates, they lost about 30% of their weight. Then the guava, about 10% of their weight. So it was more of like the ones that were in Keep It Fresh had a lower weight loss, which means that they maintained their freshness and they maintained their moisture inside there when they were looking at the application of the technology. And then the wrapping trails, I think some of you have actually seen something like this in some of the, especially when the cats are sitting on top of each other, they tend to have these wrapping trails actually on top of the food itself. And then if you look at them, this is how they'll probably be stacked, and then the peppers will actually be put in between. So here, this is the pepper in apple, export boxes. This one is single-use units, and this one here in a client pot where they're actually being piled together, and then they can put those interleaving sheets that they use. And then here is mango without and with Keep It Fresh pepper, right? Here in UK, you tend to see that if you go into most of these Asian foods, they bring the mangoes and display them in their boxes that they come in. You tend to see that at times you open when they open the box, there are all these peppers that are in between the mangoes. And at times they actually keep the pepper below the mango, that you can, the consumers are still picking the fruits whilst they are still on top of the peppers, because it actually extends shelf life. So they tend to keep these peppers with them until the consumers has actually bought the produce. And then the ethylene filter strips, these ones here, 3 by 3 inches strips to be placed within fruits or vegetables. And at times it's just placing them next to them like that. And at times they actually put in between the fruits themselves. And that is just to make sure that whatever is being produced is being trapped. Whatever the method is which is being produced is actually being trapped by these strips. Then there's also sachets, which can be placed within fresh fruits and vegetables. Natural ethylene absorbers, about 5 grams per every cubic feet. That is of the fruits, and that is also pegged in this Tyvek packaging, and then they are just put in between there. And then examples of how these ones are actually done. You see that this one again in bananas, so it depends with which company. They can either use strips or they can even use sachets to actually absorb ethylene from the boxes of packaged bananas. And then these are kiwi fruits. And then this one here, such as being put in apple boxes. And then we also have sachets that are actually put in mango boxes. And at times you actually see a lot here in UK, mangoes that are individually wrapped with these ones to actually make sure that they keep fresh. Again, mangoes in sachets and individually wrapped. And then you also have got the Keep It Fresh grab pads. They're just pads that are actually put in between. Single release, you can also have sulfur dioxide releasing grab pads. They're either single release or dual release. So they release gas, sulfur dioxide gas, and then the dual release or single release, they are laminated and then woven in between for moisture absorption, and then the moisture is activated, and then the bigger pocket size for better performance. So I tend to see that they are used mainly probably in crates that are a little bit bigger to make sure that the grapes kept fresh. So you can actually see that the grape guards put on top of the boxes. And then we also have got one called ethylene filter curtains. They just put, like for example, these are all boxes that contain, and then the curtains are just hung in front of the product, so that they can just be trapping the ethylene that is from the air, or ethylene that is kind of like being released by the fruits, and so they can just be hung within could be a building or within the boxes that they have, and causes negligible pressure drop as the air passes through the filter, and it also reduces ethylene content within the environment of the fruits. So you see here, this is a room where boxes are, or fruits and vegetables are, and then the curtains are just hung in the air, because when ethylene is being produced, it actually rises because of this boiling, the boiling point and all the stuff, which is quite low. So when it rises to go to the roof, it's actually, that's when it's trapped with these ethylene curtains. And then we've got the caskets, usually plastic capsules for 10 cubic feet, can be placed in a household refrigerator, or stuck onto a wall of a refrigerator with a double tape behind the capsule, or they're also available with adhesive backing. So you can actually move them around within the areas depending on where you want, or where you store your produce. And then you've got what are called the scrubber machines. These scrubber machines actually like oxidizes the ethylene gas, and they're economical to use with only kind of like a half HP blower, and it replaces the scrubber granules you can actually replace them every month. So it's something that can just be there, and then it's actually labeled ethylene scrubber. So it's kind of like, trapping all the ethylene that is around. And then we've got transport filters that can be also be done, that can be used to keep the fruits and vegetable fresh. The filter tubes are actually put in there. They can be put along the walls depending on the containers that you use, and they can be trapping all the ethylene that is actually there, and oxidizes the ethylene and make sure that there's clean air that is inside the boxes. So if you look at this one here, is more of like, how do we determine shelf life, which is very important for maintaining quality and safety, and also what technology is actually out there that can be used to improve shelf life of products. Thank you so much for listening. Any questions? So I'm going to stop sharing so that I can go to the plenary and see